employees perceive the Dutch government's ability to change has an impact on the older employees. The same goes for the impact relatively positive managers have on their peers. So growth mindset versus fixed mindset. This makes it quite necessary to invest in good leadership. Ultimately, it is the leader who determines the course, has the quality to involve employees, provides space, and removes unnecessary obstacles. This makes leadership within the Dutch government part of the problem and part of the solution. Providing leadership development within the Dutch government is equal as important as increasing personal leadership amongst both management and employees. Next slide, please. However, the challenge with leadership development is the three-way division of top civil servants, middle management, and operational management. The senior civil service, ABD, part of the Ministry of Interior, is responsible for the appointment and supervises top civil servants, such as board executives or directors of large governments or organizations. A vision on public leadership development is provided by the ABD. The Ministry of the Interior in general provides leadership development embedded in a strategic human resources government policy, which can be seen as a guideline for all government organizations. Next slide, please. Executive agencies such as the Dutch Tax and Customs Administration, for example, face the challenge to implement this guideline and support middle and operational management in influencing organizational culture to overcome resistance to change. This agency is a very large matrix organization with a complex governance structure, which differs per sub-organization. To require change leadership, the HR department needs to develop a customized leadership development program, specifically mastered on the cultural aspects for each sub-organization. Next slide, please. The next one. Yeah, thank you. However, there are some examples of successful change leadership. The multi-year technology plan is one of those examples. And this goes for the Dutch Tax and Administrations Agency. The Board of Executives had formed a project team, and they created a sense of urgency to make the employees aware of the importance of this plan. They formed a guiding coalition of 50 to 20 persons with a shared vision in which direction the organization, and specifically the organization, needed to move. They used every possible channel to inform employees on the progress. They removed obstacles to the new vision or went into conversation with managers or employees who had a different view on the progress of the plan or were very doubtful. And if there were some very valuable insights, they embedded those within the progress of the plan. They created short-term wins, quantified the amount of change needed, and last but certainly not least, anchored change in the organization's culture, and not only for the extent of when the plan was embedded, but also for the long term. So they appointed directors or head of departments with a clear vision on how to change large organizations in transformation. Next slide, please. The Ministry of Interior has developed a program which embodies the personal development leadership of employees called inner development goals to enable employees to embrace their individual purpose, by which means they can make an impact in their work and beyond to cultivate change. This is a very new program. It has not yet been embedded within all different organizations, but it is based on positive psychology, and they have high hopes this will give some very meaningful insights to employees. Next sheet, please. The senior civil service needs to feel a greater sense of necessity for embracing these principles of IGG into the vision of public leadership for top civil servants in order to enhance their leadership style, increasing their own personal leadership, but also to increase personal leadership within both management and employees to have a successful impact on organization level. This is a topic for which a lot of top civil servants struggle because the workload is very high and very demanding, and prioritizing which topic should be dealt with first is a demanding exercise within the Dutch government. So we hope this will set some small steps to make some progress in this matter. Well, this is in a very, in some highlights, what I can share on how the Dutch government can challenge this change leadership and becoming a more transformative organization.
Well, it is very interesting also to see that sustainability is one of the important change topics within the Dutch government. So I hope that also our audience will ask some questions about that. But we will switch over to Chris, who will reflect on your presentation. And Chris, perhaps you can share us some insights that you've seen on what Edith told us about change within the Dutch government.
Well, Edith has mentioned the large organization, which has many layers. Also,
hello, please let
the political side of working as a civil servant has its own issues, because we are dependent on the political decisions that are made. And also, the many layers that we work with, from top to bottom, makes that it is a very, if you talk about leadership, very difficult to send messages, to get things done, and to have people go along with your change necessity. So what I see in daily life is a lot of resistance to change, a very great dependency on the higher management, not much own initiative, and a lot of people, a lot of colleagues are just waiting, not acting. Also, and when I look at my line of work, the hiring of people, to seek talent for organization, there is a lot of necessity, a lot of urgency, vacancies that are not fulfilled, that causes a lot of problems also. But for some reason, the people who need these vacancies fulfilled don't feel the urgency. They tend to not work enough with us to change, to think in possibilities and not in restraints. So that is what I see in daily life.
And Chris, how do you overcome, for instance, when people are leaving the organization or switching from positions? Because then change is also very difficult. Do you cope with, or Edith, maybe you can answer that question?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Well, perhaps change is also very difficult when people change positions within management, for instance, or within key critical roles. How do you overcome that when you are running a change program within the organization when people change positions?
Yeah, well, that's a really large challenge within such large or within such large agencies. Well, what we see or what we advise is to share knowledge in advance and to as many as managers or employees or co-workers as possible, so that they can go on the benefits and on what is learned, and try to keep on track with the vision that was implemented, or in which direction the organization needed to move. That is actually the far best scenario that is worked by. But it is very difficult, and what Chris also mentions is very true, because when vacancies are needed to be filled in, there is not always a vision on what is needed to pursue the course, and there is a very great need of leaders or managers or specialists with a vision on transformative leadership, and maybe some experience with how to overcome resistance. So that is something that is worked on, and within many programs, and the issue is to embrace and to bring those programs together, and to make specifically higher management aware of the benefits of such programs.
Thank you, Edith. We'll switch over to the question part of this Good Morning BSN session. So that means that everybody can ask their questions through the question answering question chat, and I will read them to you to answer. I hope I can read them all of them to you, because there are coming in a lot of questions for both of you. So I'll start with the first one. The first one is from Stefan Alkema. What are examples of differences in approach to managing organizational change, comparing private with public sector?
Well, that's a good question. Private organizations have a shareholder structure, which makes the organizations far more easy far more easy to transform. Large government agencies, such as the Dutch Tax and Customs Agency, they have so much responsibilities to perform their tasks and their duties, and there is a lot of change within the political top civil servants, and there is actually not a embedded shareholder. So private organizations are, I think, more of in comparison, somewhat easier to manage. And the necessity to change is not always felt within such large Dutch organization settings.
Okay, thank you. And I will go on because I got another 5 questions for you. This one is from Matona. What strategies can a change leader use to overcome resistance to change and foster a culture that embraces continuous improvement and innovation?
Well, I think what we see, or there are some pilots run within some large organizations to research whether talent management is successful to embrace within employees and managers to find out whether there are more opportunities to increase personal leadership amongst employees and do more trial by learning. So learn from mistakes and make it also a safe environment. That is very, very important within such large agencies. What we also advise or see is that there are more initiatives to form strategy policies and give more feedback to the ministers or secretaries of state to prioritize what is really urgent and to make plans and stay focused on these plans, separate from the opinion or plans from the political organization, which has a lot of influence. And that is a bit of a how do you call it? That gives a lot of tension between how those organizations function. I hope that gives a bit of an insight.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the next question will be deepening more this topic. I will read this question from Toyin de Einde. Edith, how receptive is the public sector in the Netherlands to innovation and diversity in managing change?
I think they want to be very perceptive of innovation. But there is a large duality between wanting to be innovative and having the time to be innovative. The fundings are mostly there, but the workload is so often so huge that there really has to be a lot of confidence within higher management that innovative projects can also be beneficial to the strategic course of the organization. So that is really a large issue that has a lot of attention, but is really a growing topic. And well, perhaps Chris can share some insights on that.
Okay.
Well, what I see mostly is the difference between private organizations and public organizations, and certainly when I speak about a Dutch tax agency, is that it is mostly process driven instead of purpose driven. So there's a lot of talk about innovation and the willingness to change. But to really see it through from top to bottom, it is really difficult. because there are a lot of blockades, personal blockades or organizational blockades to implement those changes. So I think every individual, when you speak to those colleagues, wants to change, wants to be innovative, but when it really comes down to it, it's really hard.
I really believe so. I got another question, and it's a very interesting one. Managers are now question askers instead of question answerers. They involve employees in the change by asking ideas, wishes, views, etc. So employees are active part in change process. How is this trend practiced in government? This question comes from John Lodder.
Well, there are some organizations within the Dutch government, such as the Chamber of Commerce and Cadastre, who are embracing these methods, who are really giving employees opportunities to make the amount of change, to take on projects, but those organizations are a bit smaller. And they have a different organizational structure compared to the Dutch tax administration, for example. I think that most of the Dutch government organization really wants to embrace that vision, but it needs some time to foster. And I think that the IDGs and personal leadership development can be very helpful with that.
Can you tell something more about the inner development goals? Because that's, I think, in the Netherlands is a big a new program, but in the world, it's I think it's not really known.
Yeah, well, there is a worldwide movement for the inner development goals. There was a summit quite recently in Switzerland, if I'm correct. It is something there are high hopes for the Dutch government organizations, but also for organizations for the private sector. I think the challenge is it is a very nice program at itself. I think the challenge is to make it so that it really contributes to the organization's policy and really makes it a tool which employees can embrace and learn from and know how to implement that in their daily structure. Because researching what are your strengths and your weaknesses and how to research how you can get better on these topics is something that might feel a bit more like a psychological, like a coaching project, and I think it needs to be more in balance with realizing targets and results. So that is a real change, a real challenge. But I think the awareness for it and the fact that there is now a program also, although it is very new, is, I think, a very good step forward.
Okay, that's deepening the question. Absolutely. I got another question from Ioma Animam. How can a leader overcome resistance to change? I think she or he means that themselves.
Mm-hmm. I think it is very, well, maybe Chris can also show some insights of his role as a manager of a team with some resistance to change.
Well, my view on this is to get the team involved
from the start, to let them know how you feel about things, why you feel them, why you feel the need to change things. Let them tell you why not, or why they do want to also change, and make brainstorm sessions together. Have them have the idea that they are really contributing themselves, that they are the solution, and not just following you in whatever path you take. And when you do this from the start, then they are much more willing to participate, to be part of it, instead of resist.
Thank you, Chris. I got another question from Olibisi Ogumbase. Thanks for the presentation. So that's a compliment. Government organizations are usually large and have challenges with affecting changes and responding to changes too. Also, are the issues of undue influences from top officials making it difficult to stick to guidelines? Policies, somersault, difficult with instituting disciplines, etc. Well, it's more a remark, but can you reflect on that statement?
Yes, well, because the current administration has asked the Dutch government to research whether it is possible to implement a 22% downsizing of the amount of employees within each organization. And there are some organizations, like the Dutch Tax and Customs Administration, who have really difficult topics which they are working on. And to cut down the employees by 22% is something that really also asks something of the political issue, because if that is something they would really like, then the counter question is, okay, but which topics have the priority to focus the policy on? So they needed to be held responsible for the fact that this measure has to be taken, and also need to be made aware of the impact it has on organizations and ultimately on the social climate within the Netherlands. And the large matters and issues that are still very current, so the housing shortage, for example, and the educational matters. So that's really a controversy between the two, between the organizations, and how the political department needs to issue it.
Thank you for that. We have a few more questions coming in, and also running almost out of time. So I'll try to give you a few more minutes to answer a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Let's see which one I can pick out of that. Oh yeah, this is interesting. It's not related to specific the Dutch government or the companies you work in, but it's a more broader question. Perhaps we can try to answer this one. What is the best method to handle a growing company with departing employees in a consulting firm that is heavily reliant on its employees? This comes from Mohammed Usman.
Yeah, well, that's a really good and very actual question. I think it starts with the onboarding the onboarding process. It really needs to be very top of mind. I think new employees have to have the time to learn the organizational culture, the time to make adjustments, and have to be able to share their knowledge. What we see in some large Dutch organizations, Dutch government organizations, is that new employees are very eager to start. And after some weeks, they share that their insights are not heard, that they feel like they are welcome, but their opinions are not so embraced. And some leave the organizations in a very short time. So that's a really, really important factor. I think what we also try to embrace is to let them be guided by preferably senior consultants or senior members, so they can be really coached. And as a manager or top civil servants, there has to be really awareness of good leadership and leadership skills, and learn from the employees who want to leave or have a new job within a different organization, for which reasons they want to leave the organization.
Thank you for answering that one, Edith. I got another interesting question, and let's try to answer this one as well, because I got also an action learning opinion on that one. Stefan Alkema is asking us, can a change successfully be driven upwards from work floor upwards, or does it have to be driven from C-level downwards? Or other way around, is a change initiative doomed to fail when C-level is not fully on board or even opposite to it?
Now that's a very different, interesting questions. I think all the insights are true. I would really be very embracive of change that starts at the bottom of the organization and works upwards. I think it is for projects to be successful, it is very important to have a sponsor, and preferably a sponsor in a manager's position. And it would be really advisable to have a sponsor on C-level executive, on board level executives. So they can have their influence on managers, can communicate within the communicating channels within the organization. So change can definitely start at the bottom, but you have to have sponsors in order to feel the necessity. And sometimes also be aware that C-level executives do not always know why some change is needed. I have once heard a C-level executive say to a manager that he did not know why organizational culture needed to be changed because he hadn't fired somebody. So sometimes there really is not any awareness at that top level, and they really want to learn, but there also needs to be awareness by employees that they can commune with managers, and it really pays off to try to inform the higher management on these steps.
Okay, well, I think this is a great answer to the last question we got and can answer at this Good Morning BSN session. Edith, thank you very much for your presentation and giving us these broad insights on how change works within the government, and also your knowledge on the topic, and Chris as well, because both of you have given us a lot of things to think about. I can conclude to this one that change is onward and always going on within organizations when the world is moving at this fast pace. So getting knowledge on these topics are very important, and you can see that by the questions coming in. It's affect us all. So thank you very much for the presentation again. And
You're welcome. Thank you.
yeah, if you still want to say something to conclude us, feel free, or else we're going to close off the Good Morning BSN session. Thank the audience. So Edith, thank you.
Well, I'm very interesting of the election day in the United States and on how this will affect change within our government and government in
so.
Europe and worldwide. So yeah, it's a very current topic, I think.
Thanks. Yeah, that will be absolutely. Chris?
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity to share our thoughts on the public sector to say something about leadership and how it works and not works within the Netherlands. And well, I wish you all a very good day and see you next time.
Thank you, Chris. Well, and I thank also the audience for being there with all 70 people again. And we'll see you next week on Good Morning BSN. Bye to you all.